So I've just had a random thought today, one of those shower thoughts. And while thinking about it, I think it would give some people a pretty good lesson in life. Now, for some of you that know me or have watched my videos before, you know that I'm in the process of becoming financially independent and, building the life and living the life I want. I'm still on that journey, etc., etc. And one of the things that we look down upon, or we shouldn't really do in wealth building and investing, is thinking in hindsight. But of course, we're all humans, and as humans, we do this all the time. We think in hindsight. What if this happened earlier? What if I bought Bitcoin back in 2016? What if I invested in this stock before it went up, etc., etc.? This is called hindsight thinking. The reason why hindsight thinking is not that useful is because, well, you can say that, but back then you only knew what you knew. You didn't know what you didn't know. So it's not really that practical of a way to spend your time thinking. But, we like to think of all the what if situations. And I caught myself thinking about what if situations today. And basically it's simple. What if I was already a millionaire? Just watching these videos of these young ass people in their early 20s, making multi-six figures a year and having 7-figure online brands. What if when I was in my early 20s that happened to me? How would that change my life? What if I was a multi-millionaire by the age of 23? From my age of 23 till now, how would my life have looked different? Would I even be in the same city, the same place? Would I even be doing the same things? Would I have met the same people? And a lot of what ifs go through your head. It's a nice thought experiment. And I was thinking, if I was a multi-millionaire by 23, it sort of made sense, because it would be great, because I would have achieved the goal that I am currently now trying so hard to achieve. That's great, isn't it? But then you think of the other side, and there's a couple of points. It's like playing a video game. You always wanted to reach the end game, and once you reach the end game, the game just becomes boring, and you end up getting burned out because you're doing the same stuff. You're just waiting for new releases, and there's nothing more for you to do. Wouldn't it have been boring for me as a 23-year-old if I already, made it, so to say? And then there's the other thing that's about the way I lived my life from my early 20s until now to my late 20s. How would that hindsight situation, that what if situation, changed my years in my 20s? Some of you may know, in my 20s, I did quite a lot of things. I did esports, I went to film school, I was in the film industry, and I was in the military. It was quite a lot of jumping around, and I quite like my life being like that. I think it's a lot better than, going for the typical degree and sitting in a classroom for 4 years and memorizing papers and then sitting in an office for another 4 or 5 years until you're 30. I think it's a lot better than that. And I was thinking, well, if I was a multi-millionaire, then I wouldn't have done all that, Let's say if I bought Bitcoin back in 2016, I was playing Overwatch in 2016. I was trying to make it to the pro scene. I got to Grandmaster in 2017. But if I somehow knew about Bitcoin and I had to learn about the potential of Bitcoin back then, the time I spent learning about the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I wouldn't have spent playing Overwatch, and I wouldn't have spent getting to Grandmaster, and I wouldn't have played professional and met my teammates and had all the on-stage experiences, live tournaments, etc. I think those experiences, now that I think about it, are like priceless. I genuinely enjoyed it. How many people can say they've played at a tournament on stage? Not been at one, played at one. And then there's the other things. Even like the military, right? Like money is not that great in the military. It's pretty good compared to what you get outside of the military, but it's not like, a CEO salary or anything like close. And the military has been very good to me, and it's the experiences I've had. They're probably like some of the funniest years of my life. It's like the most fun I ever had in my life was my years in the military. Met some of the funniest people, done some of the most interesting things. Been to a country that I never would have been to. It's crazy. Things like that. I wouldn't have went through all that if I was already a multi-millionaire by my early 20s. Because even if you are a multi-millionaire, there's like certain things in life that you still can't get. If I was a multi-millionaire, I still wouldn't be able to do cool stuff like shoot grenade launchers and hang out with the funny people I did hang out with and have the stories I had, been to the places I've been, got opportunities to see this scenery that I've had seen because of the opportunities. It's like things like that were priceless. And I was thinking, I actually genuinely enjoyed these years of my 20s. I really enjoyed it, despite not me being a multimillionaire, despite not me having my head screwed on until I was like 25. Despite me not being this far along in my self-improvement journey, they were still some of the best years of my life. And I really enjoyed it. And that's where I was thinking to myself, effectively, wouldn't that be priceless? You cannot put a price on that kind of stuff. And then some people can say, all the haters might be out there saying, oh, nah, you're just coping. You're just coping because you're still poor. You're coping. But it's not really coping if I am just grateful for what I've experienced so far. Yeah, I may not have what I want, but what I want back then wasn't what I want now. And it's just part of my journey. Everyone's on a different path. And for some 20-year-olds out there, it just happens so that in their path, they happen to have a lot of financial freedom and figured a lot of things out by their own milestones and at their own pace. Whereas, I've done other things in my life that I will consider very, very valuable experience. I learned a lot of important lessons, life lessons through esports, let's say. A lot of them. And I think about it and it's like, what better way to learn about life experience than through professional gaming, which is the single thing I loved the most when I was in my late teens and early 20s. I'm so grateful for that and the opportunity for that, because how many people try to get into esports and fail and get nowhere? And in fact, how many people try to play games for that many hours and have it ruin their lives instead of let alone improving it? I'm so grateful. And the lesson is that, yeah, you can see someone else at a younger age having the things you currently want when you are older than them, right? Could be a car, could be kids, could be a girlfriend, could be the ability to travel, intangible things too, And then you think, like, what if when I was at their age, I had that? What if? But the reality is that you didn't have that, and there's nothing you can do now to change the facts of what happened at their age, back in your day, so to say. And you're on a different path. Be grateful of the experiences that you've had, both good and bad, because they all equally contribute to make the person you are today. Some people might take longer than me. Some people, like the kids in their 20s, have figured out certain things by their early 20s. But their life experiences are different. What they've had to deal with is different. But as long as you have your own goals towards your own future, and you have a strong vision now, doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you have a strong vision now to where you want to be in the future, just focus on that. Focus on working on that. Use those FOMO feels as a bit of motivation, if anything. So, I guess the lesson is, be grateful, even if you don't have what you don't have. Even if some people younger than you have what you currently want, be grateful of your experiences. Don't get salty, don't FOMO it, because you can also have what they have, just a bit older. There's nothing wrong with that. And you might not want the same thing as them anyway. You might not want the same thing 10 years later than you do now. Who knows? But just be grateful of the experiences that have made you into the person you are today. And that we're all playing a different variation of the game. And when you stay focused, have a clear vision, stay consistent, you'll get there. So yeah, that's what I wanted to just have a little spiel about today. So anyway, subscribe for more videos on my random thoughts and things about improving your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.